Is it just me, or did the Saturday Night Live cold open just replay the exact video from the Kavanaugh hearings? J Pork's podcast. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. One goal for the next 2 months. One goal for 2018. And that's to take back the House. And we're only going to do that by going out and voting. I mean, I know the civil rights movement didn't exactly end racism, but I thought we were further along from this. It's a known fact that the reason I don't have any friends is solely because I'm a liberal who cares about other people and doesn't want to see brown people and women suffer at the hands of old, rich, white men who have been in power for way too long. Nazis? Bad. Free press? Good. The most dangerous thing you can do is sit back and think that America has no chance of ever turning into an autocracy or some sort of authoritarian regime when you have a fascist regime on the rise right now, unchecked by Congress, which makes November the most important election of our lives. J Pork's East Coast Radio dies in your house. J Pork's podcast. We must resist or we won't exist. Taking it back in November. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices.
Representing Staten Island.
Hey yo! What is the word, peeps? Welcome into another action-packed edition of the J Pork's podcast.
I'm Jay Porks, with me as always on the other side of the glass, making sure this is a well-oiled podcast machine. Every week is the ever-popular Nobody. That was the Meat Puppets, covering White Sport Coat, and it's on the Backwater single 5-track release. The 5-track Backwater single. But I've been for a while looking for which album that song is on. I feel like if you work for a band, you can't ask them what album a song's on because you should know that. So I never wanted to ask. It's a odd cover there. A band good for doing. Along with original material, they do funny covers very well. And White Sport Coat has literally nothing to do with the podcast today. I had to do it. Okay, so you may have heard on Dies in Your House. We'll handle some things first. First of all, if you want to become a East Coast Radiohead, you know what to do, right? You go to patreon.com/jporks and you check out the tiers we got offered up now. From now until October 31st, we have slashed prices for Halloween. But you could also go to iTunes or YouTube and look for East Coast Radio, smash that subscribe button. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio for the least heard voices, because for the entire month of September, and until I'm told otherwise, all episodes of the J Porks podcast will come to you on East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. So that means on Mondays, we're probably going to move that to Sundays. That means at the end of the week, at the end of the weekend, Sunday or Monday, you will be getting an episode of the J Porks podcast. Also, on Fridays, you will always continuously still get the short pre-show podcast, Dies in Your House. We cover things on there that that are important, and it's a shorter podcast with background music. It's easier listening, and I think that people would tune into that. And, if you're not someone that wants to sit here and just listen to me talk for an hour on end, if you tuned into an episode of Dies in Your House, there's background music, there's no cuts, there's no thoughts. There's thoughts, but I just go straight. I don't, plan out, okay, so I'm going to do this section now, and I'm going to fit it into this section. Like today, for instance, there's a part of this podcast I recorded just 5 minutes ago. Just because I had that and I needed to get that piece done, so I did it. That doesn't happen on Dies in Your House. Dies in Your House, we hit record. We start playing Your Life's on the Line in the background, because November's important. We are inside Noah's Ark territory here. Noah spent 40 days and 40 nights on an ark with 2 of each animal. I'm looking at the calendar. Yeah, we are inside the 40-day mark here to the midterms. And it is more important than ever that we get out there and we vote. And if you need help figuring out if you're registered to vote and stuff like that, don't worry, guys. You're covered. Because beginning this Tuesday and every Tuesday, it will be #TurnoutTuesday. You might say to yourself, Jay, what is Turnout Tuesday? Well, I'm going to share that with you right now. I'm most certain that I have the page up here somewhere. Anyhow, just here's what you do. Go to amarchforourlives.com. No, go to the A March for Our Lives Twitter handle and go to marchforourlives.com, and you will see all of because every Tuesday leading up to the November 6th election, March for Our Lives is issuing a new call to action for young people across the United States. Our mission is clear: to encourage all eligible voters to elect morally just leaders on all levels of government. So, you might be like me and not a young person. That doesn't mean that you just vote and that's it. It's your civic duty, which is a term that a lot of people are going to remember. Your civic duty is to educate people who aren't into voting, and what you have to do is tell them, listen, you have to get them to vote, and there are plenty of reasons. You don't have to tell people lies. There are no lies to be told here. This is the most important election ever right now. Probably the most important midterm election ever, I would say. Let's say that. Most important midterms ever. Because you can't have what's going on out of Washington, the expanding of the swamp. This can't continue. And what we need to do is get a grip on things. We need to get the House to have power. And we need to make a run at that Senate. We need to chip away a seat at that Senate. We can't lose seats. Because if Republicans maintain the Senate, which my prediction is that they will, I don't want them to. But if Republicans maintain the Senate, Lindsey Graham is the chair of the Judiciary Committee. And he doesn't believe the women. There's that. So you go to March for Our Lives. You go to marchforourlives.com. I keep saying a March for Our Lives because their Twitter handle is at a March for Our Lives. So I'm gonna here's what they got. On Tuesday, October 2nd, you have to register everybody to vote, and that means knock on 25 doors in your area. Ask residents and workers if they're registered to vote. If not, walk them through the process on their doorstep. Not everyone's gonna open their door, but if you register a couple of new voters, you will be making an enormous difference. And that's Tuesday, October 2nd. So Tuesday, October 2nd, everybody go knock on doors. Get people to vote. Get them to register. If they're not, show them how. You could do it on the phone. It's not, you don't have to go to the DMV to register to vote. Tuesday, October 9th is Wear Your Flag Shirt Day. To continue the culture, we have to continue to shift the culture around voting to appeal to all forms of action, political action, including style. Let's get as many people as possible around the country to wear March for Our Lives voter registration flag t-shirts. Walk around school, work, or in the streets to register voters in less than 2 minutes. That's all it takes to register to vote, 2 minutes. And if you don't want to go to the website, just text 97779. Text change to 97779. And you'll get text alerts about all this stuff. So there's a March for Our Lives American flag shirt that they want you to wear on the 9th. And I see where this is going, because people that wear American flag t-shirts usually vote for people that like guns. So if I have an American flag t-shirt and I'm talking to you about things that aren't guns, you still think I'm a patriot, but then you might listen to me a little more than if I was wearing my Resist hoodie. Tuesday, October 16th is Get Art the Vote. Get it? Get out the vote. Get art the vote. Create artwork and posters that advertise Election Day being November 6th to plaster around your school and in storefront windows. Make sure to post your designs in areas with high levels of foot traffic, where voting might not be a priority. There are many pre-existing graphic designs to promote voting all over the internet. Print these out or make your own. Now that works for me, because as somebody that may or may not have dabbled in the graffiti culture as a teen, I'm all about putting things in high traffic areas where a lot of people can see them. So that works for me. So that's Tuesday, October 16th. We're going to get Art the Vote. And on Tuesday, October 3rd, there is a candidate and what we need to do, I'm just going to read. It says, organize a town hall in your congressional district with candidates running for office on the local, state, or federal level. We recommend planning town hall as early as possible. Here, candidates can voice their support of or opposition to our common sense gun safety measures. If you are planning If you are new to planning town halls, the Town Hall Project has helpful resources that will assist you through the process. So, the Town Hall Project, townhallproject.com, is a website that is specifically for organizing town halls to meet with congressional constituents can meet with congressional candidates in their district. Talk to them about things that matter to you. A lot of people are under the impression that this stuff is so hard that, like, you know, politicians are unreachable, and that's just not accurate. And if they were, if people didn't know before ways in which to organize town halls and vote and yada, 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 now it's becoming easier to do so with the crew from March for Our Lives, David Hogg, Emma Gonzalez and co., John Papanier, with these peeps, showing you, making it easy for you. Registering to vote online is a fairly new thing, so, I mean, fairly new in terms of, like, how old the country is. And town halls, some candidates don't even give town halls. Some candidates go on vacation, they go to Martha's Vineyard, and they pick grapes for wine. Looking at you, Nunez. October 30th is Chalk the Vote. Buy some chalk and get to work. Draw some creative voting reminders around your community. Sidewalks, streets, college campuses, shopping centers, etc. If you're in a state with early voting, remind people where their polling place is located. This is another fun, refreshing way to encourage your neighbors to fulfill their civic responsibilities. So there's that on, it's again, October 30th. And on November 6th, walk out to vote. Now, I was thinking, what is this setup? No, November 6th is Election Day. So people that aren't here's the thing. So this says this says on November 6th, 10 a.m., students across the country will walk out of school or work to their local polling to their local polling place. If you don't have school or work on November 6th, just go vote. Visit walkouttovote.org to register to walk out. Get the hashtag walkouttovote toolkit and join the online community. For Walk Out to Vote, March for Our Lives is partnering with the Future Coalition, a coalition of 20 youth-led organizations working together to create change. Walk Out to Vote is a collective action that will bring together the entire youth movement to go vote on Election Day. In addition to March for Our Lives, Future Coalition is led by Activism on the Road, Brave, Bridge the Divide, Bulletproof Ballot Project, Chicago Fuerte, Orange Generation, Indivisible Students, March on the NRA, MoCo for Change, National Die-In, National School Walkout, Parents Promise to Kids, Peace Warriors, Shattering the Silence, Storm, Student Voice, Team Enough, 0 Hour, and 50 Miles More. And there is a reminder that is very important here. Lyft is offering half off on rides on Election Day. It doesn't say that the rides have to be to your polling place, but I doubt on Election Day I can get a half-price Lyft trip to Cherry Hill, New Jersey or something like that. So, if you need a cab to your polling place, it's half price. This all begins at the local level. For instance, Staten Island, also known as North Texas. We got a guy who is in Congress right now by the name of Dan Donovan. This guy made my graffiti days. He was I believe he was the district attorney or the ADA or something. He was the guy that would try to prosecute all my friends that were like well, my friend, I went to Tottenville High School that weren't exactly friends, but all the people I knew that were like criminals, they were not in jail because Dan Donovan is not good at his job. And now he's in Congress. But what we can do in my district, in Staten Island, some of Brooklyn, is vote for Max Rose. Max Rose, running non-Republican, running on the Democratic side. He's got the 5-point Army star on his lawn signs. I saw a lot of Max Rose signs in one neighborhood on Staten Island. I'm actually fairly impressed. Fairly impressed that there were liberals out here. So it all starts at a local level. So if you don't see, like, you know what they say, if you don't vote, you can't complain? If you don't vote, you can't boast either. So, like, let's just say you're an avid racist, right? Let's just say you hate everybody who is not a white guy. And you don't go vote. You can't go cheer on kids being in cages. You didn't vote. You have nothing to do with that. So, like, people I know that are like, oh, people gotta stop with this, everything is about Trump and just support the guy. No, you didn't vote for him. You sat out election day. And you're just mad that Facebook isn't about fantasy football anymore. I'm sorry. Fantasy football got too complicated, okay? Got people like my cousin who's been calling me. And listen, Dan, I can't do the podcast with you. I have this podcast. My cousin Dan is a 9/11 truther. He's a We Are Change guy. He's a, 9/11 was an inside job guy. And he tells me, while trying to get me on a sports podcast with him, he tells me that what I'm doing right now, this podcast about politics, doesn't matter. And that nobody cares. That's what he told me. It's a very naive... So if somebody has cancer, there's no cure for cancer. So why go to the chemo? Why not just die? You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to participate in what's going on. And listen, I'm sorry that, again, I apologize that things aren't fun for me anymore. I apologize that I don't have, funny stories and soliloquies and stuff like that to tell you. I'm sorry that my whole life is about this. But my whole life is about this. We're going to vote because we got to take back the House, at least. Because then we can start impeachment proceedings on Brett Kavanaugh. They're going to seat this guy. I don't care what Jeff Flake says. In a week, Jeff Flake is going to vote yes. And he only had that little moment of clarity because survivors bombarded him in the elevator. And we all know that Jeff Flake has made no bones about his political aspirations. He's not running for re-election this year, so he thinks he's going to run for president in 2020. Maybe as an independent, maybe as a Republican. If he really wanted to stand out, he would have voted no. He would have voted no and not got it out of committee. Again, but I also go back to, I don't want to say like that. I don't want to say that the committee did something right. But there was nothing else the committee could do at that point. And as of last night, as of 2 nights ago, the FBI was reaching out to Deborah Ramirez, and they were reaching out to Blasey Ford and friends, and they were going to go see them and talk to them. And then you hear Ken Delanian say that the FBI has a limited scope in this investigation. Why are we not talking about Brett Kavanaugh's gambling debts? Why did not one senator ask about his gambling debts? I know that we have other things that may have been more pointed questions, but he had gambling debts mysteriously disappear, and we never found out why, and we're not quite sure if the FBI is investigating that because they have a limited scope. Trump says they don't have a limited scope. Unfortunately, he's Trump, and he's allergic to truth. I know I was talking about this on Friday on Dies in Your House, but how can you have somebody who's going to be a judge on the Supreme Court over there yelling at Democrats, telling them that, it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be good for the Democrats when the shoe's on the other foot. It wasn't shoes on the other foot. That's not the quote, but it's something like that. Said something about the early 2000s. What? Because George Bush won? I mean, it was an election. That's what happens. And he only won. Do you really? I mean, that was more. I mean, listen. The last two Republicans to make it to the White House made it there. How do you say? What's the word I'm looking for? Made it there illegitimately. I don't know why I lost that word there, but Bush, they do the Florida recount and his brother is the governor. Trump doesn't win the popular vote. The only reason Gore didn't win is because he chose to distance himself from Bill Clinton. Which, listen, policy-wise, I don't know. I can't go back. I was a young kid. I was in high school. I remember my history teacher coming into class and saying, we will never have anything like this happen again. You're right. We won't. Politics are too divided. And it was nice to see Jeff Flake and Coons and listen, Ben Sass was talking to some Democrats too, so he was probably gonna make a move as well. But Brett Kavanaugh is going to get seated because if the FBI doesn't talk to Michael Avenatti's client... First of all, Michael Avenatti has the client... Alright, her name is escaping me, and I'm sorry. She matters. It's with an S. Michael Avenatti has a client that the FBI has not reached out to. If I'm somebody that doesn't want what Michael Avenatti's client has to say to get out to the public, I would most certainly talk to her. Because Avenatti, I mean, to put it lightly, he's not afraid to go on television and, tell everyone everything. Insane. So they voted it out of committee. FBI is going to do a week-long investigation into the allegations. Credible allegations. And I'm not saying that it's okay, but Brett Kavanaugh's strategy needed to be, you know what? I was a young kid, high school, college. I may have done some stupid things. He can say, I don't recall doing this, but I have done some regrettable things, and my bad. That has no bearing on the human being I am. These are all defenses he could have used. He could have not lied about getting blackout drunk, because all of his high school and college friends say he used to get blackout drunk all the time. Simple things. So, he's unfit to be a justice, and he would need to be removed immediately. Immediately. And the House of Representatives brings articles of impeachment. That's what they do. So, November, we're inside Noah's Ark. I keep saying it. We have to vote non-Republican. If there are, two Democrats in your district, or if there's like an independent who is, more Democrat than the Democrat, I'm not going to say don't vote that guy. Just don't vote for Republicans. That's all I'm saying. And all these congressmen's voting records are online, so you just go and you search. I'm sure Facebook has a tool to show you who your congressman is, who they're up against, what is on your ballot, and what is, the stats. But it's never been more important than it is now to get out there and vote. Jay Parks here. And I know I've been a little busy on this Least Coast radio stuff, talking about resist, remove, and recreational. But I gotta tell you about one more thing. You should be a Least Coast Radiohead. That's right. And you can become a Least Coast Radiohead just by going to patreon.com/JPorks and check out the offers we have there. There's a low tier, a middle tier, and a high tier. All of those get you bonus content, exclusive personalized artwork, and even a chance to interact with me on a personal level over the phone. We could talk about what's going on in this podcast. We could talk about how we are going to flip these seats blue in November. And we are going to vote like this is our final election, because it might be. Patreon.com/JPorks. Become a Least Coast Radiohead and join the resistance. Just wanted to get a quick Patreon commercial in there really fast. So yesterday, Saturday, combined two of my favorite things. My favorite channel, MSNBC, and my favorite thing, music, where the Global Citizen Festival took place in Central Park and live on MSNBC. It was so live that during Cardi B's performance, there was a disclaimer in the corner that said adult language or something like that, because they were airing it without even... I don't know if they would have put it on a 10-second or 15-second delay, if they would have even been able to catch some of that stuff, but Cardi B's performance was solid. I liked it. I'm sorry. She's New York. She's real. She's not... Alright, I'm not saying that Cardi B is some world-renowned rapper right now. I'm not saying that, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that most, rappers rap and you don't know where they're from. Like, people, they'll use southern accents, but they're from Queens. Rap is usually used to be regional. Just like music. Remember, grunge only came from over here. It wasn't all over the place. Grunge was here. They had, in California, they had that weird hair, LA, LA Guns, Guns N' Roses off-spin thing. They had the 80s hair bands. New York had punk in the 70s. New York had punk after punk became famous in England. Then they had punk, and they claimed that they invented it, but whatever the case may be. It's regional, and a lot of hip-hop now is not regional. Everybody sounds the same. When Cardi B raps, I don't know what the song's about, but I know where she's from. So, there's that. And, she's fairly attractive, to put it mildly. And she was like, man, this is what Global Citizen's all about. Y'all gotta get out there and vote, because I'll be honest, I didn't take it seriously last time. And y'all gotta get out there and vote, because we can't be having nobody beefing with everybody else. We can't be having that. Okay. You're right. She's ratchet for ratchet's sake. She's not ratchet because she's a ratchet. She's ratchet because she likes to be ratchet. And that's a different I have a different kind of appreciation for that. It's good stuff. I don't know one Cardi B song. I turned it on, I was like, this is pretty cool. Texting my girlfriend, I'm like, yo, you home, girl. Because my girlfriend likes Cardi B, by the way. She doesn't want anyone to know that. But I just told everybody listening to my podcast. So, Global Citizen Festival, I'm glad that you have partnered with MSNBC to be on television. And maybe, you know, I'll make my way out there. Jackson was the headliner. I mean, that's not really... That's not going to be a Jay Porks experience, but, you know. Could be fun. I wanted to go to Global Citizen a couple of years ago, but then they started talking about the tickets are free, but you have to clean up afterwards. And I was like, psh, what's that about? I'm not cleaning up the garbage. But it's not actually, that's not actually the price of admission. What the price of admission is becoming a global citizen and helping, you know, if you go to Global Citizen, the Global Citizen official website, you can find out all ways you can get involved with helping the climate, helping the earth, helping, you know, people around the world who need food, helping basically become a global citizen, help each other. And part of that is, after the concert ends, you know, if you see any garbage on the floor, pick it up. Okay. Are you guys in the mood for a little action-packed edition of the Thread Count? Featuring Boris, Natasha, and George Papadopoulos? And maybe even somebody that was meeting with another Russian, another member of the Trump envoy, meeting with another Russian, and it's being reported by NBC News. Okay. So, we'll take a quick little break. I'll squeeze in another Patreon commercial. And then we're going to come back with everybody's favorite edition of the podcast, the Thread Count, where we're going to talk about what else? Russia. Hey yo, Jay Porks here, back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. Least Coast Radio now has a Patreon page, and all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks, and there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to, 3 tiers you can join to become a member of Least Coast Radio, of the Least Coast Radio community, of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, Jay Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group, and you could affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a Least Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my handout. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the Least Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me with a microphone and dies in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the Jay Porks podcast and everything concerned with Least Coast Radio. Let's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done.
Representing Staten Island.
Time for everyone's favorite part of the podcast. It's the thread count. That is right. We are back here on the J Porks podcast with another action-packed edition of the thread count. That's where I comb through Twitter and my sophisticated intellectual people that I follow. I was going to say followers, if only I was so lucky. So some of the people that know things, they form these tweets on Twitter, and then they add a tweet, and they add a tweet, and that's called a thread. And what I do here on the thread count is I take these threads and I read them to you because I love you, and because this information is important, and because, you know, me reading the article when I didn't graduate high school is not, you know, gonna work out well. So first comes from a regular, somebody who appears regularly on the thread count. It's Alias Vaughn. If you follow Alias Vaughn on Twitter at Alias Vaughn, you can keep up on this. But this is what I got. And there's an NBC News story that has a Russian-born American businessman who gave $273,000 to support Trump's 2016 campaign, was in extensive contact with high-ranking Russian official, and offered to brief that official during the final months of the campaign, NBC News reports. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jay, I was wondering what happened to Russia. Don't worry, it's still here. Robert Mueller had to go to the Apple store and visit the Genius Bar. But he's back now, and we're gonna dissect this. So let's see what our friend Alias Vaughn has to say. Simon Kooks. Yes, Simon Kooks, a Houston-based oil executive, sent an email to a Russian official in Moscow in July 2016, boasting of his connections to the Trump campaign and requesting a face-to-face meeting. The official is Pavlovsky. I'm not trying the first name. The former Russian ambassador to Norway. NBC has the emails. Kooks wrote to Pavlovsky, I have been actively involved in Trump's election campaign and am part of the group on strategy development. I will be in Switzerland July 20th to August 2nd. Let me know how you are doing and whether you want to meet. Oh. NBC obtained emails through a London-based investigative project funded by Mikhail Khodorkovsky, a Russian opposition figure. The Dossier Center gathers information to try and expose high-level corruption in Moscow. NBC reviewed the emails in conjunction with The Guardian. Let's go back to this tweet. So there's a London-based investigative project, and it's funded by this guy, Mikhail Khodorkovsky. And it's a dossier center. They gather information to try to expose high-level corruption in Moscow. NBC reviewed the emails in conjunction with The Guardian. So that's NBC News and that's The Guardian, both reporting on this. In conjunction. They've seen the same source. Kooks also sent his Russian buddy a pic of himself posing with Rudy Giuliani, seemingly at a fundraiser event, and was all, quote, I was at dinner with Trump. I think his chances are very good. Oh yeah, especially if you know Russia's buying him for the election. Obviously you can tell which parts are quotes and which parts are not. I'll end quote next time. Because there's never enough boasting of direct links to the Trump... Because there's never enough boasting of direct links to Trump in the mind of this tuna brain. He also sent his Russian buddy a second photo of his then-girlfriend, whom he then married, standing between Trump and freaking Mike Pence. Ew. Now, because I love a good laugh, care to know what that girlfriend's name is? Svetlana Stanovkina. How so fitting. If you're a Russian-born Trump megadonor who is clearly trying to collude with Russia, better have your girlfriend that shows it. Also, she's way younger than him. Quote, intelligence experts told NBC News that Cook's communication with Pavlovsky invited questions about his involvement in the Trump campaign, end quote. You think? Quote, to me, this reads like an email exchange between a source and a handler, or a source and a headquarters, said Lindsey Moran, a former CIA officer to whom NBC News showed the emails. Quote, Kooks told NBC News by email that he thought his donations would help him make contacts in Houston, but that he regrets having made them in light of the press coverage they generated. End quote. So his regret is about the amount of press, not the collusion. Fascinating. Kooks is one of several Americans with deep ties to Russia who donated to Trump in 2016, end quote. LOL. Well, to quote Top Gun, the list is long, but distinguished. I've never seen Top Gun, but I that quote sounds good there. Here we go. Kooks has ties to Leonard Blaventic and Andrew Intrater. We've spoken about Intrater before. The relative of Victor Vekselberg, who oversees his U.S. company, the Renova Group. In case anyone forgot, through Russian oil firm TNK, which he ran as president from 1998 to 2003. Let's back up, unpack this tweet. Kooks also has ties to a guy named Leonard Blaventic and Andrew Intrater. Andrew Intrater is the relative of Victor Vekselberg. Victor Vekselberg is a Russian oligarch. His cousin, Andrew Intrater, relative, they claim that Intrater oversees the Renova Group, and Vekselberg has nothing to do with any of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Renova Group was the group paying Michael Cohen. You know, I'm sure Victor Vekselberg has nothing to do with that. But anyhow. So Kooks has ties to Blaventic and Intrater through Russian oil firm TNK. And Kooks was the president of the Russian oil firm TNK from 1998 to 2003. Just to layer that tweet a little bit. Blaventic was a shareholder in the company, while Kooks was the company's president, and Vekselberg was also a shareholder. In one email, Kooks tells the Russian official he contacted, "At a dinner with Trump, I saw Blaventic. We had a very friendly conversation." End quote. Now I see why he regrets sending the email because of press coverage. LOL. How does it feel to be exposed for a conspiring Putin muppet, Kooks? All good? You just wait, because it's gonna get much worse as hashtag Mueller is coming. So there's that little section of the... So we took... I mean, this podcast, we took a little break from talking about Russia for a little while. But NBC News has a picture of Simon Kooks with Rudy Giuliani, and they got emails in the summer of 2016 claiming, you know, I got you, fam, basically. Want to meet with him. Ties to Russian oligarchy. I just don't, for the life of me, understand. I don't understand the denials. I don't understand why there is such strong opposition by Republicans to acknowledging the facts. Like Devin Nunes was saying a couple of weeks ago that, oh, this Russian Kool-Aid. Russia Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid? It would be easier for me to find a person that a person from Russia that the Trump campaign didn't conspire with. It would be easier for me to name people that didn't than did. That's what's so crazy about this, and I don't know how you can sit here, how anybody can sit here and just say, nothing to see here, nothing burger. It's a really big burger. Almost a Buffalo burger. No, but I mean, just because, listen, the midterms are on their way, And just because Mueller doesn't seem to be indicting anybody right this second, that doesn't mean that, Russia's done. So I don't want anyone to think, I don't want anyone to get lost in the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. Don't get lost in the Rod Rosenstein drama to see what's happening. And as everything in the dossier that Christopher Steele provided, everything in the active measures film that it runs about 2 hours, all of this stuff just day by day gets more and more accurate. And I was Googling it, and it is Renova Group that paid Michael Cohen. I just wanted to double check it. So Renova Group, someone's got ties to that. Cohen's getting money from them selling access to Trump. I'm glad Cohen's talking to investigators. And we got, remember, Manafort has mana flipped. And in December 18th, I believe that's 2 days after my birthday, if I have the date right on the December 18th, Michael Flynn will get sentenced. And do not let his sentence, if it's a short sentence, don't get perplexed. Just chill. And I'm fairly certain that at the end of all of this, when all of the information comes out, because, again, everything in the dossier, everything in active measures, everything reported, none of it has been proven false. None of it. And for anyone to call it Russia Kool-Aid or Nothing Burger, just really has no idea what they're talking about. And those are the people, Devin Nunes, who should be voted out. I mean, listen, I understand after watching after watching the Senate Judiciary Committee, they should all be voted out. But, Devin Nunes is the guy that, doing the midnight run to the White House with the information. I mean, you're going to shed tears for Carter Page? Guy was an asset of Russia from 2013. I'm supposed to feel violated that they were looking at his phone records and stuff? If I claim to have ties to the Kremlin, I invite the US government to tap my phones as well. Because if I have ties to the Kremlin and I'm actively working against the US government, then I'm a traitor and I deserve to be punished by death. Okay. Moving on. You know what? While we're here, we should really take a look at what is going on the Twitter feed of Mr. George Papadopoulos, who only has 125 tweets, and he's using them all to forward conspiracy theories. Now, little background, everybody knows George Papadopoulos got 14 days in jail for lying to the FBI in connection with the Mueller investigation. Mueller was investigating him. They caught him lying, and then he had to plead guilty to that. And then he agreed to help out the investigation. Well, it turns out the information he gave to the Mueller team may have been detrimental to the investigation, may have steered the investigation away from prime players. So he got jail time. And I would think that if somebody was wrapped up in all this, I would think 14 days in jail would be good. I think, if you get 14 days in jail, you got off scot-free. So what would you do after you got out of jail or after you received that sentence? I mean, I know what I would do. I would shut up. That's what I would do. I would just be quiet, and I wouldn't ruffle any feathers, because that's not me. I'm not a feather ruffler, and I don't want to go to jail again. But George Papadopoulos, he's using Twitter. So, a couple of times a few weeks ago, they were showing George Papadopoulos tweets on the news about, like, soon everyone will know the truth. So, George Papadopoulos, since September 21st, is claiming that the British and Australian governments' attempt to sabotage the Trump campaign is about to backfire in a spectacular fashion. A spectacular fashion. Let's just for a moment take him at face value, which we can't, because it's utterly crazy. But do you think the British and Australian governments would use their spy agencies to look into things going on in the Trump campaign if everything was on the up and up? They're not Americans. They don't have a disdain for Trump like we do, because we know him. I'm from New York. I have a vast disdain for this guy. Before politics. And his hateful rhetoric and his hateful policies make me hate him even more. And the rise of authoritarianism is a problem. George Papadopoulos, he thinks the problem is that some other countries were like, hey, rising authoritarianism. And he's like, that's bad. So if you're saying that, then you're saying that you live on a street and your next door neighbor is committing murder, and you don't want the neighbor across the street and the neighbor on the other side of him to take a look into that? Crimes are being committed? Now, I don't know what the British and Australian governments were doing, but I know that we have an agreement. It's like what is it? Britain, Australia, Germany. We have an agreement with, I believe it's 5 countries to share intelligence. So, when authoritarian regimes are rising, we can be prepared for that. But so I scroll George Pap's Twitter a little more. September 21st, after reports are finally out that the British and Australian governments were actively spying and trying to sabotage the Trump campaign, those 2 governments called the president to ask him to not declassify any FISA documents. Strange. Alexander Downer will go down as a stooge for Clinton, who single-handedly caused irreparable damage between USA and Australia. Congrats, buddy. I love this country too much to remain silent in the face of tremendous hurdles ahead. This guy is a full-blown conspiracy theorist now. I'm surprised he doesn't have a Q and an X in his Twitter hand. Wait, let me actually go up. He might. No, he doesn't. But just go follow George Papa 19. Fascinating stuff. This guy is delusional. So, but he'll got like pictures of him and his wife, family, #family time. 2 days ago, the UK and its intelligence services regularly act with impunity when they interfere in elections in third world countries. They tried to do it in America in 2016. This time they got caught. So wait. So let's get this straight. According to George Papadopoulos, the interference was not from Russia, but was from the UK and its intelligence services. I'm done. I'm done. Can't. It just goes to show you how deep the active measures go. Like, George Papadopoulos was a pawn being used to be an intermediary to hook up Russia and Trump campaign. He's already been found guilty, pleaded guilty to that, got 14 days in jail after working with the Mueller investigation. Trump is in the White House, like, so it's not like, your operation didn't succeed, but it's still going on. Like, these people are still towing the company line. The problem is that company is the the Federation of Russia instead of the United States of America. And that's a thing that we all should fear. And if you just, I'll say it again, if you just watch the Active Measures flick, if you just check that out, give you a little primer, little few minutes on what 2 hours of your day, and it'll make all this make sense. And before you and while you watch that, you should read along with Greg Oliar's Dirty Rubles, an introduction to Trump Russia. Okay. And that will be it for the thread count today. I need an intro for the thread count. It would be nice to have a little, cut up. But I'm not good at things. Okay. So, we handled things. We did Kavanaugh. We did Turnout Tuesday. We did Russia. Just a quick reminder that we are in Noah's Ark territory of the midterms. 40 days, 49. We are inside of the Noah's Ark here. Remember, Noah got on that boat and got off that boat, and there were two different worlds. And let's keep in mind again that, a 70-year-old man built a boat by himself. But hey, it's religion. It's to have fun with. That's what it's for. Alright, I'm getting on out of here. Before I do, let me give you the list of websites you need to go to help keep me in business. First of all, there is the new and improved ConcertConfessions.com. That's right, I fixed it. We all thought that I had lost my website forever because I broke it because I'm not good at websiting. But fortunately for me, I called up GoDaddy and I was like, hey, I updated all my plugins on WordPress and, I don't know what to do. I can't get to my site. And the lady was like, oh, well, sir, if this is a WordPress issue, we don't deal with WordPress, we deal with the server. And I'm like, all right, well, listen, my domain is registered through GoDaddy. People go to that domain and don't get my services. As soon as I said that, all of a sudden, she was like, oh, well, maybe if you try this, and it worked. I also changed some things about the web. I changed some of the color schemes, but don't worry, it's an ever moving process. It's not going to stay like that. I'm hoping to constantly evolve it. The third eye blind picture up top is because it is the best crowd shot, and we are ConcertConfessions.com, live music, news, and reviews for the fans, by the fans. So go check it out, ConcertConfessions.com. You could also go to Patreon.com/JPorks. If you want to become a East Coast Radiohead, check out the fine offers we have through Halloween. The prices are slashed because a lot of Halloween costumes have to do with slashing and stuff like that. So, go to patreon.com/JPorks, find out how you could become a East Coast Radiohead and help out the podcast. And by helping out the podcast, you are helping out with us getting the word out, getting the vote out, doing all we can to succeed in providing a check on the executive branch in November. You can also go to andyquiet.com. When there's music headlines, I forgot the line for a second. When there's music headlines, they are always powered by Andyquiet. Andyquiet.com is your source for quality. Till next week, folks. Wacky Weed and Warren Zevon. We must resist, we must remove, and we must fight for recreational. J-Pork's podcast. Least Coast Radio. Late.
Representing Staten Island.